Raises on the ground, trains, jumping rail.
It's like, oh, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, we know that's true. That is true.
No. We're trying to figure out what to do.
Thanks,
What
Maxine.
I'm wondering is, there's this giveaway of weatherization, just for Good morning.
Thank you all for being here. Started a little bit later. We had a miscommunication on the breakfast, so that is actually on the way right now. When it comes in, please help yourself. It is on the way. I want to welcome y'all to our spoken breakfast. And today we have a presentation.
Nice. Thank you.
We have a wonderful presentation from Collective Impact today that you will hear, and then I've got some updates as well afterwards that we can talk about. But again, the breakfast is on the way. When it comes in, feel free to help yourself. And now we have our wonderful friends from the Chicago Collective Impact, Wanda DePager and Corinthia Kelly. We'll turn it over to them.
Thank you so much, Councilman Johnson. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Corinthia Kelly. I am a program manager with the Public Policy and Management Center at Wichita State University. In that role, I work in access and engagement and really trying to work on community initiatives, try to remove barriers of entry and try to maximize community engagement. Here with my awesome colleague, Wanda DeShazer, who will come up a little bit later. But we want to talk this morning about the Collective Impact Initiative. And while Tasha is bringing, thank you. The Collective Impact Initiative is a partnership of a variety of community partners through a generous donation from Cargill, as well as a partnership with the United Way of the Central Plains, the YMCA, USD 259, as well as the Public Policy and Management Center at Wichita State. Is there? Yeah, sure. Thank you. So really quickly, what is collective impact, you might ask? So we define collective impact, or for collective impact to happen, it requires a commitment of organizations from different sectors. So again, I mentioned Cargill, United Way of the Plains, the YMCA, WSU and USD 259. It includes a common agenda. It focuses on solving a social problem, a specific social problem, and it merges skills and resources to reach a common goal. So what we are converging or what we're trying to solve looks at USD 259's strategic plan for the 2018 to the 2025 school year. Some of their goals are to increase the high school graduation rate from 74% to 80% by 2025. Also looking at third grade reading state assessment scores, proficiency levels. They want to increase that from around 22% to 44% by 2025. Also, 70% of seniors graduate with a diploma and one or more market value assets is one of the stated goals by 2025, as well as an approval rate of 90% of staff, students, parents, and looking at categories like safety by 2025. So those are some of the stated goals, or that's the common agenda that we're trying to work towards with collective impact. Now, what I love about this initiative is intentionality. So when you see this diagram, as opposed to other efforts, what we are trying to move towards is that last line of collective impact. So there's plenty of problems out in community. sometimes we all are looking at individual impact, and that's operating in isolation, where we're working towards a goal, but we're doing it by ourselves. We're moving in separate directions. Coordinated impact is a little better, where you're aligning to some goals, but it's still not streamlined. What we are trying to get towards is that last sector, collective impact with collaborative action. In order for collective impact to happen, there are 5 main conditions. There's that common agenda. So again, we are looking at USD 259, working in partnership, sharing their vision to change a problem in community. We have to have shared systems of measurement. So we are constantly measuring data. We are constantly looking at outcomes, activities, funding, goals, strategies. So participants act in accordance with the plan of action and recognize the work of other partners, or recognize the strength that other partners bring to this equation. Also, collective impact is marked by continuous communication. So we have regular standing meetings of collective impact members. That's a major condition of collective impact. And also there's some backbone support organizations. So again, I talked about those earlier. One of the best practices of collective impact, so we did a lot of research before we started, and within community, we had to look outside of community to see who was doing this well. So one of the case studies was Graduate Tacoma, that's Tacoma, Washington. And the reason why Tacoma, Washington used this approach, first, they defined a problem or a challenge they had in the community. They identified the collective impact models, what they wanted to use. They then focused on who they needed around the table, who were the backbone support and partner organizations. They talked about what they wanted to do or how they wanted to measure what success looks like. And also they looked at where they needed to make impact. So their why. Back in 2010, Tacoma, Washington was known as a dropout factory. They had a 4-year on-time graduation rate of 55% in their community back in 2010. And the community said that's a problem. When you think about that, when you think about employers possibly relocating to an area, one of the measures they look at is what are the high school graduation rates? Do they have the skilled labor or workforce that can support the operations they're trying to bring in town? So they realized this was an issue. So some of the internal challenges that they realized, the why, there were failing and under-resourced schools. There was frequent transition of teacher staff and leadership. There was a large transient student and family population. There were things like food insecurity and poverty, as well as disparate outcomes. Think about things like behavior, attendance, and grades by ethnicity and race. There were also external challenges, like organizations wanting to support schools with their own agenda, resources, goals, metrics, and not aligning with a larger strategy. There were also gaps in duplication and the quality of training and engagement with programs. There was also competition for grant funding, as well as a lack of shared outcomes. So all those are working in isolation, or not working as a collective unit, and working together towards the same goal. So what they decided, to adopt the collective impact model, they defined a common agenda. They had shared measurements of what they wanted to define success by. They had mutually reinforcing activities. They had a continuous feedback loop, as well as partners that came together at the table that wanted to make 1 + 1 = 3. I know we're talking about school, and I know 1 + 1 don't equal 3, but they wanted things all to work together. Everyone's working on the same thing. Some of the metrics that they used, they looked at reading and math in terms of early literacy or early learning and reading. They had metrics for school age students. They had measures for out of school time or after school programs. They also had certain metrics that they would collect for all students, shared academic indicators, looking at GPA, behavior, attendance, your ABCs, as well as after or post-college or trade. So they had markers or what success looked like or what they were capturing in all those different areas. That's what made their collective metrics or what their areas of focus were. There were also key players. So these key players started out as a small steering committee in Tacoma. They eventually were able to bring on a consultant. They divided into separate impact networks and work groups. They formed a 501c3 to work in this work. They also identified network partners or outside this core leadership team, from early childhood organizations to summertime programs to college and career readiness foundations. They also had the philanthropic community and nonprofit community come on board as well. Places like the Tacoma Community Foundation, Walmart Foundation, Gates Foundation. In total today, there are 150 total collective impact partners in Tacoma. Now, if you see some of these labels, so it expands just outside of the school. So you have employers on here, colleges on here, foundations on here, folks in the business community on here, folks that partner with academic support. You also have partners that help in health and wellness. There's leadership development in here. You also have workforce skills in here, 21st century skills. You have art education, service learning, college and career, global learning, as well as family engagement listed in here. So what started with a small cohort expanded to over 150 partners that really encapsulate Tacoma, all working together, moving collectively with a shared agenda and trying to reach a shared goal. So with that kind of context, we get to the impact. So, and a little less, so the initiative started in 2010. And again, as I mentioned, they had a 44% graduation rate. As 9 years later, by working with Collective Impact, Tacoma has a 4-year on-time graduation rate of 89% as of 2019. So I say that to say the Collective Impact were the collaborative efforts of a lot of people, a lot of different sectors working together on a common problem, trying to reach a common goal, works in time. All right. Now I'm quickly going to pivot and have Ms. Wanda come on up to share the collective vision here, what we're trying to do here.
So again, we talk collective impact, and you probably say, but what is our goal right now? So when Cargill donated $2 million, they looked at education and they looked at economic impact, specifically in 67214, and then with the goals of moving beyond. But that's where we're starting, because when you look at the data and the statistics, that's where we have some things we need to overcome. And so to get the project started, they looked at the YMCA's after school program. So right now we have a middle school after school program after Y. I have a bad habit of staying off script, so I need to see my script. Okay, all right. So the after school program is a supervised after school program. The kiddos get to participate in physical activities, they learn new skills or talents. And this allows them to spend more time in school, right, with less suspension risk. So the more you feel acclimated to your school, that you belong, you're less likely to get into some bad behaviors. And then also, when you have this after school program that allows you to maybe do some more studying, the outcome is better academic performance. So of the kiddos that participated, they said 40% of students from target schools participated. 70% attended 3 or more days per week. And so when they went back and looked at the data, did some surveys, so 84% of felt program leaders cared about their academic progress. So, you know, you have to have people in the program that care, right? 76 felt comfortable talking to a program leader about problems. So once you've developed relationships, then you can kind of get to what the problems are. And then we're putting kids in a safe environment. It said 85% of the students felt safe and 92% of parents felt the program was a safe environment. So when we start looking at how do we tackle issues, you know, we say, what kind of support are we going to give? Are people going to be receptive? Are they going to feel safe? So 74% felt their grades improved because they participated. So because they were in a middle school after school program, an intentional program, they felt their grades improved. 85% of the parents felt their student grades improved because they participated in the program. 81% felt it was easier to complete home assignment. So you know when you go home, you know how it is when you go home from work, the TV, you got distractions, you got your friends, you got your phones. When you have a place to go that's specifically designed for you to do some work, get some physical activity, you tend to do the work. And then 77% felt encouraged to complete their homework. So again, when you're in a safe environment, you just tend to do better. Participants had 40% fewer absences than peer students. So when you have your group that didn't participate in the after-school program, 40% fewer kids in the program of absences because again, they felt a connection to their school. Participants have 54% disciplinary incidents than peer students. Again, once you got that connection, you just naturally want to do better. And so from the data, because they didn't test grade, they didn't look at grades before the program, so they couldn't statistically prove that being in the program helped your GPAs. But we all know that when you're in a safe environment, an environment that encourages you to flourish, you're going to do better. And so although that data didn't show the kids did better, we know they did because they had that safe space to do their assignments. Participants had significantly fewer absences. They had fewer disciplinary incidents. I'm still fuzzy on that. It had little impact on GPA because I think when you're in that environment, you can't help but do better. But they didn't test it to prove that data. Safe environment, opportunity to increase physical activity. So again, it just shows that when you have an intentional program you can get some intentional results. So why this work requires different thinking, different actions to get to different outcomes. So the goal right now, our first goal is to have third grade proficiency by third grade. Statistically, if you can get through third grade, you can get through the rest of your schooling, right? And so, so how do we get there, right? So we share, so the Wichita Collective Impact, we are sharing the USD 259 strategic plan in a clear, consistent way that translates to programming. So what does USD 259 have planned? What is their strategic plan? We have to follow their plan. That's collectively moving together. So establish concrete goals with measurements. That's the third grade proficiency level by third grade. And speak consistently about the Wichita Collective Impact. So we got to get people to start thinking about that collectively. How do we move the needle forward? Collectively, how can we do this together? And then move the work beyond USD 259, because we know the school district can't do it by themselves. It takes the community to get involved to help our kids do better. So using USD 259 data, and then data from external programs, like looking at Tacoma, like looking at outcomes, is going to help us with our collective impact. Mutually reinforcing activities. So one of the first things that I did when I was hired last summer is that I went out and knocked on doors. I called nonprofits. We needed to see who was already doing what. Right? So how do we get the people that are already doing the work, how do we get them involved in the collective impact? And we had to start building trust. What is working, what is not, and done without fear. Sometimes nonprofits, they feel like, well, I can't really prove that my program is working, and so I may be funded again, so I'm not going to share my information. So we wanted to make nonprofits feel comfortable in sharing their information. So again, we can get on a collective common goal of that third grade proficiency level. Provide professional development and support. So one of the things that we did, we offered grants to the community. So if you wanted to learn about the collective impact, we gave nonprofits a $500 stipend to come to these training sessions. We had 4 training sessions to talk about the collective impact, talk about the end goal, and how we all can work together. And those nonprofits came to all 4 sessions. Again, we gave them a $500 stipend. And again, we're creating opportunities for us to work collectively together. So collective impact, we have to continuously communicate with each other, establish internal, external, regular communication channels. So when we partner with those nonprofits, you know, we couldn't just cut the cord. Okay, thanks for coming to these meetings. We invited them to come out in the summer and still work with some young people, again, on that same goal, working together. Provide shared resources and updates on progress, challenges, and goals. So now I can tell you what we've actually been doing. So after we gave those nonprofits these $500 stipends, we then opened up a grant process to run a summer program. And that those are all of our sources. And so we wanted to do something to, again, help with that third grade educational achievement. So we offered a grant working United Way, using Cargill funding. Organizations were able to apply for a grant, open up a site for 20 to 60 young people, kindergarten, first and second grade, and give them a jump start for the upcoming school year. So we worked with USD 259. They gave us standards that each organization would use to do like a pre and post test. And so that gave them the curriculum, so to speak. So all 3 organizations use the exact same curriculum to make sure we get this, hopefully, some better outcomes, right? And so we gave out 3 grants. They were up to $25,000. We had a summer site at the center. We had a summer site at Holy Savior, and we had a summer site at Seeds of Life. Church, St. Mark's. So they already were doing a program for third grade and up. We were able to fund them to act first and second grade. And so you'll hear about that data later, but preliminarily, all 3 locations, all of our kids from pre-test to post-test did better. In a 4-week time span, again, being intentional, having the same outcomes, the same goals, using the same material, we were able to help our young people be successful this past summer. And so moving forward, again, we don't want to forget those nonprofits. We don't want to forget the kids we've already been working with. So now we're working on different projects to keep them involved. And so, and to help us, again, to help them reach that 3rd grade proficiency level. So if you are a nonprofit and you want to get involved in the collective impact, Tasha could send out my email address, send out Corinthia's email address, and we can make sure that you're in on the next leg of training. Tentatively, our first one would be on grant writing, and hopefully it'll happen sometime in November. But again, if you, a nonprofit or even for-profit, if you're doing work in 67214 or surrounding area and you think you can help us achieve that 3rd grade achievement level, we would love to have you on board. I forget anything, Corinthian?
No, I think you hit everything. Does anyone have any questions about any of the information we shared?
And right now, I am place-based at Spate Elementary. So we are being intentional about those parents and those students, but we really want to hit all 67214, but we are place-based at Spate right now. We just did a program with our kindergarten parents. We're doing another one in December, where we're going to invite parents to come out and be kindergarten students for a day, so they can see what actually goes on in their kids' lives. They don't take naps anymore. In case y'all didn't know that, they do not have naps in kindergarten anymore. They're there all day long and they are really learning things. And one of the biggest things, and I hope people out there are listening, one of the biggest problems is attendance, because people don't take kindergarten serious as they should. And sometimes little Johnny gets to stay home, or little Susie gets to stay home, and that's not a good thing. And so, because kindergarten is not about naps anymore, they are really getting that foundational learning that is going to get them to that 3rd grade. Any questions or comments?
Now, I heard the number of the school district, I didn't hear 259. I heard another number.
Of our graduation rate?
No, the number of the school district that you're
Oh,
supporting.
we're 259.
USD 259.
Yes.
ma'am.
We're supporting our public schools. Is that what you're asking me?
I heard another number.
Oh, we were using Tacoma as the model.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that was the
Okay.
model.
So you were using the model's number,
Yes.
and I didn't hear 259. Okay, fine, okay.
Yeah, is there any way I can get all the emails on a page or something? Because I can't copy them.
Right.
Would you like the presentation, like the PowerPoint that we presented? Would you like that information?
Sure.
Okay, okay. Talk what, yeah.
Actually got it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I just want to mention, it sounds, because part of what you're including is physical activity. It's, the homework part is going to help, obviously, but getting that physical activity also improves the brain function, gets kids moving so that they are prepared to learn. So I see that as a really important part of what you're doing. So thank you.
and when we did our summer program, that was actually one of our stations. Physical activity was part of the day. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, it's important.
And when we found out, like kiddos going into kindergarten, like somebody has to teach them how to use scissors. And we don't think about that. So our kids are going into schools, and this is from teachers not knowing how to use scissors. And so we have to, again, be creative and say, how do we get them ready? Or once they're in there, how can we help reinforce what the teachers are doing?
Can y'all also go into what we talked about in the meeting that we had? So for everyone else, the legislature and others like to disparage USD 259 based only on their state test scores. But there's so much work happening, you heard some of it, and so many more improvements that they don't talk about because they have their own narratives they like to push. So can you give some more of that information as well?
Yeah, well, the great thing is, 259 is moving in the right trajectory, which is great. So that means that a slide has stopped. There's common language where you're here, you want to stop the summer learning slide. So once kids are out of school, there's a slide there. So programs and initiatives like this are geared towards stopping that slide, but also some of the outcomes that we are trying to move towards. USD 259 has been making progress in the outcomes. Now, these changes moving 6% doesn't happen overnight, right? But 259 is moving in the right direction, which is great. What we hope happens as this common agenda, as this common language gets shared more people outside of the schools and just these programs in the community will adopt some of these strategies, some of these strategies, which would be great. So that's the collective work. So I'll give this example. We would want kids before they start school to know that 259 uses a word arc. That's what the kids are going to see once they hit kindergarten. They're going to see a word arc. Imagine if they're seeing stuff like that before they even get into the classroom. Think about how far ahead they are than everyone else. That's the kind of common language we want out to daycare providers. We want grandma and grandpa to know that kind of language. So that way, when their young person gets to class, they're aware of fine motor skills and can cut out. They can spell their name. They recognize uppercase and lowercase letters. So that's the idea behind the collective. The more people that know this language, the more we're all moving together in the same direction.
And so, as Councilman Johnson was saying, that sometimes we get really caught up on state scores, state assessments. But you look at day-to-day work and kids are actually doing better. You know, that their grades are actually improving. And so all of these programs are we talk collective impact, all of our nonprofits out there doing the work, we're moving the needle. And that's the word that Assistant Superintendent Gil Alvarez is moving the needle. And so by doing these programs, we're moving the needle and our kids are doing better. You know, overnight test scores may not change, but by 2025, they will change. And that's their goal. USD 259, 2025 is where they have outlined seeing these major increases in test scores across the board.
And yes, please.
I know Tabernacle Bible Church, where I have a membership, we are very intentionally engaged with Dr. Polite and several others, and we have a committee, we have goals, we're engaged, we've got shirts, we've got people, we have adopted teachers, and our kids are being additionally, so I think it's an excellent move.
His program, engaging congregations, he's really reached out to churches again. So we're all working together. He's reached out to churches to be responsible for the students that are in their church. How can the church help with the tutoring? The church maybe go to the school. You know, sometimes mom and dad can't go to the school, but maybe somebody from the church can. So yeah, engaging congregations. I believe it kicked off this year. It started last year in conversation, and this year it's in effect. So again, all of us working together, moving in the same direction to move the needle.
And I'll also add to this. So the engagement is great, but there's also some training, some background, some support that was provided. So we had USD 259 trained elementary age school teachers training our nonprofits that were gonna do the summer program. So you have day trained teachers giving some training, additional tools and strategies to folks that might not have a teaching background, but have a heart to work with young people. That's important because they gave them some great strategies, tips and tricks in order to better support their young people. And we want to continue that moving forward.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Shoot, no, I'm a little slow because I saw food and I got. And someone mentioned something about language, art,
A letter art,
a letter,
yeah, so I should have brought an example.
that's okay.
But, A, B, C, D, all the way up to Z, and has the letters, you give, it's like on paper, right, cut out, and then you actually have like magnetic letters or whatever. And so it helps to teach the kids what their letters are, and it's in a specified way.
Oh,
But yeah, it's a tool. So one of the things that we did for the kindergarten students at Spade Elementary, we gave them a bag of magnetic letters and numbers, and gave them a cookie sheet, so you can, use it as your chalkboard. And parents can work with their students, because you'll be surprised of what tools you don't have at home. So you would think, oh, magnetic letters, no big deal. It really was a big deal. It's just something you just didn't think about. And so using the cookie sheet, you can put the letters on the board, kids can make new letters and do it with their parents. And that was our goal, was to take home something you can do with your parents, and again, help emphasize learning.
It's tied to one of the skills that standards say by the end of first grade, students should be able to recognize all their uppercase letters or all their lowercase letters. So it helps aid that.
now is Kirsty totally out of the window?
What?
Kirsty,
Well, right now they are focused on uppercase and lowercase letters for kindergarten, first and second grade. Now, beyond that, I'm not sure, but I know right now they are emphasizing uppercase and lowercase letters.
I know, yeah, has parents come into this program very well.
So I wish you could, when we have our final report ready, hopefully we'll be invited back. We did a survey of all of our parents, and the parents absolutely love what we are trying to do. So much so they're like, it should happen all year long. So yes, parents, from what we can tell, are buying in. It's a tough road to get parents to come out to everything, but from the survey, the parents are extremely excited about what we're proposing.
Some of the other programs are doing that today.
So Spade, right now, we're kicking off inviting the community to come to the school and read to the students. So again, if you have an organization and you want to come out and read, we can let Tasha know, then we can plug you in, or if you as an individual would like to come out. In the month of November, we are going to be reaching out to community partners to come in and read. So that's something that we're doing. Like I said, we gave out the letters, bag of letters and cookie sheets to our parents. We are going to have, Dr. Polite has another program called Kinderdads, and that's at Spade Elementary right now. We're gonna meet the second Thursday of every month with dads or father figures of all of our kindergarten students. So they'll come out and see how, as dads and father figures and male figures, they can help get acclimated with our school system. We learned last year that, some dads, some of our dads, 30 something year old, their dads didn't go to the school. Mom always went to the school. That was mom's job. And so we got a new group of dads that want to be involved. So we're trying to give them some tools on how they can actually be involved in the schools. We have, like I said, in December, we invite our parents to come out and kindergarten students for a day. We're sending home books, in December, and so over the winter break, we send home books and projects that they can do, again, to continue that learning cycle, you know, that 2 weeks off, that can hurt. And so we're sending home projects during, winter break and spring break. So those are some of the things we're doing with the state parents.
Do you, when the kids are little, when you first have contact with them, do you share with them about the Dolly Parton reading program?
Yes.
Good, yeah. I've done that with both of my 7-year-old and my 5-year-old grandkids.
And as a matter of fact, we are building our relationship with Wichita Public Library. And so when we had our open house, the library was there, and each open house, I've been working with Racine. Either the mobile library will be there or just the library will be there with their laptops, and they set up memberships on the spot.
I'm very glad to hear you mention the library. I'm a library person.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So the library isn't just about checking out a book anymore. There's laptops, computers you can use, and internet, hotspots. You can get your Kindle books, you can get DVDs. So the library isn't just a static place anymore. It's really a great tool that we're trying to get people acclimated to again. I just got my library card. I hadn't had a library card forever, and there was something I needed, and I needed the library card. So yeah, so we're emphasizing that to our young parents of young students, grandmas, whatever, how important it is to go to the library. Because if you can read, you can do anything. Our motto right now is lifetime reader, lifetime achiever.
Thank you
All
all
right,
so
thank you.
much.
There's food back there. Please get some food. I'll take a minute before I get mine. I don't want it to get cold. There's food back there. Biscuits and gravy, bacon, eggs, fruit.
I was like,
Okay, okay.
It's awesome. Actually.
Okay, me too.
My dad traveled with.
I got grandkids. Oh, I can't say what a minute now.
That's the one I want is oxy. Be strong.
Yeah, it's on the corner side, but she'd make it in a pan. Separated the cut it in strips, stretch it in the fire. Fry it, and then you put it. Get some breakfast. And trying to think of milk toast. Take that. Did you ever have the?
No.
Yeah.
On the table, all
Milk,
the-
yeah.
So we are.
She did a lot of food that warm. And she kept saying, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
School walk. School. Stuff.
Right.
We like that. Grilled cheese sandwich, stuff like that.
So what you call it?
No, my dad was. And so we got transferred back for 3 years. Colorado. Now that she's directly going.
What do you think?
And so they didn't have a hot lunch.
You got no shit.
So we walked down the hill.
Snow drifts.
Yeah, so we go to school, there's Lotus at lunch, they bus us home, I just cut the hill, and mom would meet me at the door. She'd have tomato soup, grilled cheese sandwich, and Fritos ready for me, just about every day. And there's just enough time to eat, you get all bundled up and press back down the hill and go wait for the bus. And go back to school for the afternoon and breakfast snack. But they didn't have, and you had to go home, you weren't allowed to take something to the day. You had to go home.
Yeah, let me tell you.
That was it.
Really?
Yeah, that was the.
I know.
That's why people want everything.
Goodwill.
City of Dulce.
Okay.
Oh, that. Boeing. So, but I think Boeing still exists, but they're not.
Did you hear what I said? Okay, that's.
I do know.
Okay, group of people, none.
None.
None came over to the Black Baptist Church.
And tell
And,
them.
and people went.
Yeah.
So,
You've just been lazy all this time, so now it's time to do something. Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's fit in.
You were right. Right.
right. And see, Frederick, numbers right there by the church.
That was what we talked. I didn't know.
Oh, sure, I know, but I wasn't in that part of town, I was over at Ninth and Cleveland where Dunbar Elementary. Carline Dunbar. But we were marked. About the way. And it was none. And that was the first time I ever seen felt. Then you know.
All righty, I think everybody who's gonna grab some food right now has it. If not, you can still grab some food. I'll jump into my updates, and if you have any questions about those or anything else you read about, heard about, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'll jump to these really quick. Our presentation from family. We have a definitely for today, so we will have that once we get moving on the transit survey. I'll let you all know when that is, because you have to come out to give that presentation. Also, some conversation about libraries that came up, wanted to make a note. Wanda has heard this being on the DAB, but we are working towards having extended hours in my answer. Right now, we're looking to hire, I think, 2 part-time folks to help out. When we get those folks hired, then we'll look at extending hours. Probably more towards the evening, because that's been a lot of what we heard from the community. But we've also got some dad members that want to see it open earlier for grandparents and their grandkids. So that conversation will happen, but our new library director is really focused on trying to get some changes in Maya Angelou as well as Dr. Ron Walter at District 3 and get those hours extended. So hopefully we'll see that soon. Council should be seeing pretty soon. Tuesday. Yeah, it's coming Tuesday, approving the final bit of funding for some improvements at Alfred, Rockwell, and Maya Angelou. So that will be happening here pretty soon. I'll give you updates on that once that's approved. Housing wise, keep talking about what we're gonna do with living conditions and retaliatory landlords. I got the message that we should be voting on that at least the retaliatory landlord ordinance in early November. So once I get a date, I'll let you know, probably be after the November breakfast, so if I have that date, I'll let you know when that comes up. In short, there are landowners that retaliate against tenants who complain not only to the landlord, but also to the city. And they get evicted for complaining, or the locks get changed and they get locked out, or their stuff gets taken and the landlord or property owner won't give it back. It does happen. I have lots of examples. Most of those folks don't want to come out publicly because they're continually worried about retaliation. But trust me, I do get those messages. I have 2 from this last week. Council did approve the short-term rental ordinance without the nuisance piece. That will come back in December. In short, we legalized short-term rentals. They were not legal before if they operated for 7 days. Our goal was never to get rid of that business model, but to make sure that we could work with those who do it and find ways to try to help protect neighborhoods, but also allow the protection that I told you all I wanted to see was not in there. But the process is being laid out from staff to try to help neighborhoods protect themselves through a protective overlay. I don't know what that looks like yet, the staff is working on it, but that was one of the things that I've continued to mention is that my concern was we'd have a neighborhood full of short-term rentals and nobody wants that. But that's being worked on. Also, the College Hill Protective Overlay Committee plan is moving forward. If anybody wanted to know, I do get emails. The city has a link for folks in College Hill to fill out if they're interested in serving. I make those appointments and we'll probably make those either at the end of this month or the first meeting in November. So we'll be looking through all of those applications. The goal is to find some balance between the mixed area over there. You got a lot of business, you got a lot of residential, trying to find a way to find a good balance that protects that neighborhood, but also allows the businesses to thrive. So that conversation, I don't know how long that will take, but the appointments will be made by next month and looking forward to seeing where that goes. Also, at the breakfast next month, it's November 4th, it will be at Edgemoor, not over here. It'll be at Edgemoor Rec Center. And this is the meeting where I have invited everyone that I've appointed to represent District 1 to talk about the board that they serve on, any issues coming up, goals they may have, and also to hear from you. So if there are things that you want to talk to the library board about, I've invited both of those appointees, the Parks Board, DAB, Airport, all of those. But I don't have a confirmation from everyone, but we'll go over all the boards that we appoint to. And for the folks who are here, you'll be able to hear from them. It's always an informative session. And I've got a lot of good feedback from folks who never knew who represented them on these boards, so I always want to reach out to them. Also, last announcement before I get into some council votes, today at 1:30 over at the Boys and Girls Club, we have flyers out there. We'll have our latest public meeting on the 29th and Grove contamination site. This meeting is led by City of Wichita and Sedgwick County, not ADHE as it has been before. This meeting today will focus on how we get resolution. We've had a few meetings where we continue to talk about how we got here, and we've not been able to get to where we need to be, which is talking about the design work for Union Pacific and getting these machines on the ground. It's gonna take 10 years to clean that up. And if we continue to have meetings where we don't get to the point of design work, working with the neighborhood, we've almost wasted a year because we were talking about this back in February. So today we'll focus on how we move forward. We've got an announcement to be made on cancer screenings. Anybody who lives in that area who might be concerned about potentially having cancer will be able to get a screening for free. We'll announce that at the meeting, numbers you can call, who to talk to, the clinics will be there. And we'll also talk about our communications plan, what's working, what's not working, and try to get some feedback from the community on that to help us shape a better plan. So again, that's today, 1:30 over the Boys and Girls Club. Lots of great information. Hope to see folks there. Lastly, council made some things, trying to think about what was in the news versus what I say, because there's always a lot of stuff. Council did pass the funding for the bathrooms downtown at Napster Park and A Price Woodard. We found a different funding source, because we wanted to protect the one that was supposed to beautify A Price Woodard. Again, the nuisance ordinance, December 12th at council. We approved some rezoning in District 5 to allow an expansion of the YMCA, which should be great out there. We passed cultural funding allocations. Again, we accepted the grant for McAfee Pool, the Black Preservation grant that will not only preserve the outdoor architecture of Mr. McAfee, but also improve the bathroom. So if you've been following that, the bathhouse was the last thing everyone was concerned about. That funding will help fix up the bathhouse as well. Council also approved the design for the Proc Wetlands Park out west. If you haven't seen it, it looks amazing. It's a great place to go out there and just see nature and their natural habitat. Councilmember Fry has said he's seen flamingos out there, all types of stuff that I didn't think would be out there. So I need to go out there too and see. Yep. Proc Wetlands.
PRACHT. Yeah.
It's way out there. I think it's like, it's not 190, but it's pretty far out there. I can get that information to you, but it looks pretty cool. He said he's been out there and they have in the design blinds to where it shields you from the animals seeing you, so they'll just walk around and be natural, but you can see out. It's pretty cool.
9926 West 59th Street.
Between Tyler and Mays.
It's 9926 West 29th Street North.
Yep, so definitely get out there, check that out. Last couple things. We changed our health plan. We are looking at a charter ordinance that will have commissioned EMTs instead of non-commissioned folks to support our fire department. One good thing about that is they get the same benefits as firefighters would get if they are commissioned. If not, they won't. And if we get to a point where we need more firefighters, as you know, we've been working to support that department, commissioned EMT staff, easier to transition over to being full out firefighters. So we're still continuing that conversation. We haven't taken action yet, but I think the body supports moving in that direction. Just from what I've heard.
Did you say before that you were gonna help do the training, pay for the training to get the EMT?
The EMT, that happens now. So now if you get hired, you don't have to be an EMT. You can be hired just like you are without it. They'll train you and then get your EMT certification. That was something that a few retired firefighters have been pushing for years, and we just did it last year, but I think we're gonna keep it that way. It's been easier to recruit the people and keep them on the department. This would allow you to get your EMT and just do that, since fire calls, most of them are medically related, if not fire. So this may help reduce some of the workload, keep firefighters at the actual emergencies with fire and not this. Those are my updates, questions you all have here. Lots of hot topics have been in the news.
What is it that's happening on the structure that's back behind the Family Dollar there on 21st, you know, that was so horrible. It had the,
21st now.
yeah, the dump trucks and everything. Now they've torn it all down to the studs now, but now it's tagged and.
What I know is supposed to happen is it's supposed to be not apartments, but I guess maybe large apartments.
Like studio apartments or something. I thought that's what we had
A little
heard.
bigger than that, and the parking lot is supposed to get resurfaced. And there's supposed to be a pickleball court in that grass area.
And, but there's absolutely no idea what type of a schedule they are looking at.
No, I mean, we met with them, went out there, they were asking about incentives, and I just told them I didn't see any incentives we have for a project like that, outside of stretching it for a TIF because that building has been dilapidated for a while. You could argue it fits that, but my question then was, what is the public benefit of using the TIF? And pickleball court to me is not that. And I didn't really get an answer on that, but they were talking to our Eco Depot team. So when we met, it sounded like their project would be rushed, but that building has looked like that quite some time now.
Yeah, it just went from bad to a different kind of bad.
Mr. Roseborough.
You know, privatization of animal shelter up there, can you talk about that?
So right now, there is an RFP out for, private management of the shelter to see if what we receive in proposals is gonna be better than what we do now as a city. We've continued to have complaints about the shelter. There have been some incidents there. Most of what's in social media reports is only half the story. Lieutenant Purcell has been really good about keeping me updated about, other stuff going on there. At the end of the day, they still need more workers. And some of the complaints about the 25% open kennels has been, why don't you just fill them all up? But they have to keep open kennels in case somebody drops off, if they find strays. And if everything is full, then we end up turning away animals, or we'll have to euthanize several animals in order to have space at the shelter. There's also challenges around the Humane Society not honoring their agreement and taking in owned animals. They often turn them away, and then those animals end up in the shelter. That doesn't get talked about in the media. And so right now, the RFP is really looking at, will we get something better that shows a better management system than what we have? And personally, I don't think we will. I think we should continue to manage the shelter, but I'm open always to see if there's something better.
Is there a new director of that? Yeah.
Lieutenant Purcell has been there, I want to say 2 years, and he's done a really good job. So he became the director of the shelter, really kind of got back to what we should be doing. Again, there's also a lack of information out there. This is all stuff I learned. State law says we have to keep animals 3 days, and we can euthanize them. Animals tend to stay at that shelter 10 to 14 days before that even comes up. So we go above and beyond what state law says. We try to work with the rescues. Sometimes rescues can't get in there in time. And sometimes, I mean, I've seen some concerning, some of the more aggressive animals get pulled by a rescue and then get put back out and then they bite somebody. And then it's like the rescue said they could rehabilitate, but they didn't. And I always worry about that because where's the liability? We know it's aggressive, it's labeled aggressive. The rescue says they don't care. They pull it anyway. They think they rehabilitated, put it in a family that shows it love, and it loves that family for a little bit and then bites somebody again. So it's a lot of stuff. I saw Glenn and someone else, Glenn.
What is the development plan for Central and Oliver now that all the business has been closed?
There was a conversation with the owner of the southeast corner about what their plans are. And I think they have plans, but some of that is kind of up in the air with what we're gonna do with Blackley. And that area immediately east, we need to do some improvements on for drainage. And so I think we are really trying to work with that owner to see what they're gonna do versus what we need, and we don't fully know what we need right now, but so far it's a good combination. North of Central, I don't know, because I know a CID created that. I think that's probably gonna stay where it is with the CVS and the Burger King. I haven't heard anything of that building to the east of it. Of course, I think Quick Trip's gonna stay there, as is. And I know the liquor store across Central to the south recently had a facade improvement maybe 3 years ago. But I haven't heard major plans outside of once we get moving further with Blackley, I'll probably know more. Ms. Boston,
At 13th and Oliver, I noticed that shopping center is up for sale. What are the stipulations for maintenance and so forth, for whoever buys it?
I did see that furniture place that left,
Yes.
forgot the name of the mattress place. So that, I don't know, I have to go look, whoever buys it has to adhere to what the, I think it was a PUD that got changed when they put in Walmart. They'll have to adhere to what was approved. They don't always do that, like we're still trying to work with Williamsburg over in Lambsdale because they are supposed to maintain their screening, their fence, and they haven't on the east or the south side. So that's an ongoing conversation, but they're supposed to adhere to what was approved.
So there's still no possibility of getting a food chain down there, and that furniture store leaves since it's gone.
It really depends on who buys it and what they want to put there.
It was not needed.
Oh, I agree. We need a grocery store. So, no, it depends on who buys it and what they try to put there and then what fits in the zoning. I haven't looked at the zoning. It really just depends on that.
And the ribbon cutting was very good for the downtown, Mr. Lewis, Chester Lewis.
Yeah.
That part was very well done. I commend you all, and you in particular, what was done.
Thank you.
Dave sent me the video.
Yeah. I have to give credit to Troy. Troy was really excited as this project, Troy's our park and rec director. As this project was coming together, he was excited. You know, I like the project. I love the project, but he was making me more excited. He would come talk to me about, man, this is going in and we're gonna meet this date and let's just pick a date because we had a few delays and I was like, you wanna pick a date? We've had the delays, but we picked a date, we stuck to it, everything fell into place, and Troy was just always more and more excited about it. And I told him, I love to have, a city stage or something out, and the way it's designed, you don't need a city stage, but he was like, oh, I've got even better, just start talking about the whole program, so I was actually amped to be there for that. So, yeah, Troy did a great job working with everybody and all the folks who performed there, and everybody who sang.
It was a great cooperative effort. To me, it was really a lot of collaboration,
It was,
and I really like that.
yeah, I'm excited.
So, back to animal stuff.
Thank you.
Can you speak to the rationale of not having services with animal control to help a endangered animal, injured or a stray that needs help in the evening or on the weekend?
I think that really comes down to just having a lack of enough staff there to help out.
Is there something that's there was a pit bull on Labor Day weekend, and it was hot that weekend, and people assumed it was sick. It got caught around a fence where Steve and I were doing some work, and they called animal control, and they said, sorry, we can't come out till Monday. Well, that seems almost cruel, if you have an animal that is, so I tried rescue groups, I tried everybody, and I just took it water and carefully put water to where it could maybe get to it, fed it multiple times a day for a couple of days. And then it disappeared. And I'm assuming that it was just dehydrated and hungry and hot and had a semi-safe place to rest. I don't know what happened to it, but it broke my heart that there was nothing we could do for it, because I was not going to go try to get a big pit bull into my car, because you have to approach with caution. And he wasn't aggressive, but was scared, and you don't know how an animal's going to react. So I did the best I could for it, but it was just really, really sad that, because a lot of the rescue groups were like, what crap? Why is there nobody that can come and help an animal in distress? And so how do we try to get that to change?
So there's a lot to it. One, we definitely need to hire more people.
Is that because there's nobody that bothers to apply?
Early it was budget. We moved some money over for that, but it's also hard to keep people there when they continue to be called murderers by these rescue groups.
Okay,
And we
Okay.
get those emails, we see it on social media, so you have somebody who wakes up every day loving to go take care of animals, and then they get hit with that, where you're killing, you're killing animals, you're a murderer.
got it.
And some of that, like, there was a kitten there that I think had 3 broken legs or something else, and parvo, or whatever the disease they had. That kid got euthanized, but they all got villainized for it when that part of the story wasn't told. So it's trying to give people who can ignore all of that and just continue in. And then some of the stress of, again, just not having enough people, and you can't help every animal. So I think it's a lot of that. The funding piece, we can continue to look at that. And I think some of the rationale for the RFP was, if some other group is managing the shelter, we can get more of our animal control folks out in the streets to handle some of those calls.
So if you drop an animal off, you know, in the outside container things, the doors, is there somebody there that is managing that, or do you have an animal in 100-degree heat that's in a metal box?
I believe there's people there managing.
I don't know that, because once you close the door, you're done. You know, you can't get back into it. So that would be, for me, that would be another question, because I would hesitate to take an animal there that needs help if I don't know that there is staff 24 hours, somebody checking that there's some type of an alarm or an alert that says someone has
You've done
Put
the
it-
best
put
you
it-
can.
put an
with it.
animal.
You've done the best you can with it. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
I mean, I can look into see, I believe somebody's
Okay.
there all the time.
Okay.
Well, the other end of the deal is I walk the bicycle Rosebud Trail, and there are a lot of stray animals that will chase you, try to attack you. I was talking to a lady on the bicycle, and she said a woman had a pit bull and somehow it got loose, and then the dog, was trying to attack her, and she just barely got away. There's the other end, and I carry a stick because there are so many loose animals, particularly on the weekend. And I'm concerned for my safety because I have been attacked. And those pit bulls, I do not trust them, even when they're with the owner. And that's from lots of experience.
You have a question?
No, they covered it. Thank you.
Rosebud?
I was gonna say, somebody need to tell these people, protecting animals, take them back to the vet. Reason they falling on the animal control shelter out there is that it's very expensive to have a pet. When that dog or cat or whatever you can get sick, you're going to pay for it. And I had to put my puppy to sleep 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't, we spent thousands on it. But you're talking about your medical bills in the hospital, animals cost you too.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to let these animal control people, the people that's wanting to save every dog and cat, you can't save them all.
No,
That's why I said
but it's the responsibility of the owner, and a lot of animals, they are influenced by their environment. So there are certain breeds that have more issues than others, but people exploit behaviors, and then you turn a breed into a not good breed. And it's just that. So it was just a general question to the logistics of what happens with animal control. I know you can't save everyone.
Well, I still want, we were gonna do this, I believe, right when the pandemic hit, but I still want to have a all neighborhood meeting where animal control comes out with another group and teaches all the neighborhood associations what to look for with dog fighting. Because my first year, I went around with forget the captain who was there at the time, but he kind of told me where some areas they've caught people training dogs for dog fighting, what to look for. Sometimes you see like blood on a chain or on a house or different setups, and it was something I hadn't heard from neighborhoods. And I heard it from him, and it was like, oh, yeah, we could teach all the presidents and their teams, you know, what to look for. And if they're bored and driving up and down the street, they can identify, let us know. So I still intend to have that. We'll see what happens with this RFP, but see if I can get Purcell and a few others to come out and teach everybody that, so we all play a part in stopping something.
That's our statement. I do have a concern about what part of it was reported in the news about the excessive amount of euthanations within a short few days period of time. Can you comment on that?
I think there was 2 reported.
And I may have it wrong, but the director came out and put a statement out that was, I can't paraphrase what they said, but they acknowledged it and, it was unusual, and that wouldn't happen again.
Is that a procedural issue that happened?
I'm not sure, and that every further future euthanasia would have to go through him, I believe. But also I want to make so if you know anything about that, please share. I want to make a statement that I was walking my dogs and there was this dog that looked emancipated. It was really bad at the, emancipated, thank you. That word. And it was late at night. I reached out to the rescues that I know of and nobody responded for a couple hours. But in the meantime, I was crying because it looked so bad. It was at a park. And I called 911 because it was after hours and I can't reach anybody at animal control. So I called 911 because I didn't know what else to do to help it. And it was, 911 contacted animal control or something after hours. Officer Wood came out, and he was just so wonderful. He took the time, and sat and talked to the dog, and the dog was nice and friendly. It was a pit bull, older puppy. But he took the time and he became a friend. The dog trusted him. He got the dog on a leash. It took a little bit of time, but he took that time and he talked nice to it. And he was wonderful. So any accolades for Officer Wood would be great because, and he got the dog into the truck on his own. He was able to lift the dog in at some point, but it took an hour process for him to work with the dog, but he did that. So I want to say thank you.
We got it recorded, so.
Mayor, please just make a comment very quickly. And I will.
Second. 17th off, I found it.
Yeah.
So, what Lieutenant Purcell said was that his order tends to be that with the exception of dangerous dogs in cases of mercy, like a medical danger, he needed to be contacted to ensure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. In that case, that did not happen. And he came out and talked about the breakdown in communication about the animals that were euthanized. They tend to not do 17 dogs at one time. And other dogs, some of them were going to be euthanized.
Like 3 of them or something.
Anyway, 2 for medical purposes, 3 were dangerous dogs that
Yeah.
needed to be euthanized.
Yeah.
And an additional one needed to be euthanized for medical purposes. Of the remaining, he says, had all of the other
That's
checks
6.
happened. They wouldn't have been euthanized. He would have worked to find out the way
Right.
to work with the rescues in the Humane Society. So that was a mistake, a miscommunication. I also believe they had some new people in there that just kind of went and did that, but he since corrected that, acknowledged that it happened.
Right.
Says it happened.
Right. And I didn't know if you knew any more details about that situation that you could share.
It was just that,
Oh, okay.
that was what he said when, I think all of us asked him individually, to provide, like, getting all those questions about it.
And then the rescue, Beauties and Beasts, was it maybe, that is not working with the shelter anymore because, or back then, even before that happened, they were saying they had issues.
Yeah, that wasn't always 100% true though. And Beauties and Beasts was the main one calling
Yeah.
everybody murderers, attacking everybody.
Yeah,
And the thing that when I talked to them, it was like, you know, we're gonna work together, let's work together, but we can't be murderers and all of that. Like, I have thick skin, so I don't care, but again, the people at the shelter who come in every day to try to help these animals, they're not murderers. They're really trying to do the same thing, so if they could help with getting more volunteers or something like that, that helps. They can help pull more animals. But the consistent complaints about what we were doing when it literally made sense. I mean, Purcell came to a council meeting and most of them disagree with what he said, but do you want to fill up an entire shelter and you don't have enough people there to humanely take care of those animals? Then you're no better than what we're trying to rescue animals from. So if you've got, 40 open kennels, but you only have enough staff to deal with what you have, do you fill them up? Do you have those animals living in feces and urine, or
so
do you manage what you have?
people can volunteer at the shelter, is what you're saying?
Volunteers.
I didn't know.
So,
Thank you.
Yes, I'm glad that you have addressed housing, and I'm working with your Ty Young that you have on board. They help with those who are homeless, and I am an owner and we're doing pretty good. But a family is due to be evicted as of tomorrow. And I've talked with that particular person, I won't call by name, but he was glad to know that I was coming to the meeting to put it on record. I think once you talk to Ty talks or whatever, Tuesday or Wednesday, but he did say he put an extension on having them evicted until the end of the month, especially once I told him I had been in touch with all of the proper people and I was coming to the meeting today, so it would be on record as to what's going on. And he said, go on to the meeting.
yeah, so Ty or United Way 211, so as United Way, the continuum of care, I think the 3 months came presented. So if they get into that system, this person working with the landlord, it'll be known they'll be homeless on this day. They make him work through and get some assistance there if it's just an initial deposit payment. If it's more complicated, there's another program they have where they work with several organizations to get you some long-term help. And then Ty Children's First is here at Atwater, they can help as well. The Children's First tends to now focus more on families, so if you have kids. I don't know how much money they have left to help individuals, but they are here as a resource, but the 211 number can get some additional resources too.
Thank you.
Mr. Rose?
I don't know if you, ECF, the city council have anything to do with ECF.
We can complain or we can say good job.
I hope you complaining, that little 5-year-old girl that just got kidnapped and killed, what are these people doing?
Yeah, I have had concerns about PCF. I've met with the secretary, I think twice now, about what's going on here in Wichita. I will say Commissioner Beatty, I believe, had some foster kids. He's really pushing that from the county side. So working with him, trying to hold DCF accountable, seeing some changes there. I mean, back to, I want to say it was when Governor Brownback was in office, when they contracted with St. Francis, when a lot of those challenges started in DCF. And since then, I think there was St. Francis and a few other organizations. It may just be St. Francis now. And again, they've got good people there, but also there's a lot of challenges with the way that it is, kids sleeping on couches still. And I would really hope, and I don't know if they do it, that they vet foster parents more. There's a lot of foster parents who just want a paycheck. And it's not about really taking care of that kid and helping out. So. Yeah. So there's a lot of effort that needs to happen there. I mean, as a council member, like I said, I've reached out to DCF, I've had to talk with the secretary. Actually once, and then the deputy secretary was my second one. And we started talking after Cedric Lawson was murdered, that incident, but also what processes can be changed to make sure that doesn't happen again. There's just a lot of gaps there. I would love to see more innovative thinking on how we help young people. And it's not happening right now. But we do have the ability to reach out, so I do. And I told Commissioner Fady I'll support whatever he's trying to do to get things fixed. I think he's working with a few folks on the state level as well.
It sounds like this is a good intervention early on.
Yeah.
What Wanda and Chris are doing. And hopefully we'll prevent some of those problems as those children age.
I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know why I didn't think about following their actual presentation. So after we met with Assistant Superintendent Alvarez. So we, as a city, started talking about how do we also appoint our heroes, namely, right? And at that meeting, Dante really quick, we can incentivize licensing. I think we had started, but there's a program 259 has that's already kind of a curriculum for daycare. And so I asked if we could look at incentivizing that, like drop your licensing rate a certain percent if you take this on and you teach the kids in your care this curriculum. Well, if you do that, you're already aligned with kids with what's being taught 259, the letter arc, all of that. So we are working that process. Hopefully we have it ready for renewal. So when people renew, that'll be something that was one of the things that I know my daughter's benefited from. Aria, 5th grade now, when she was in daycare. Ms. Deborah taught her stuff. She didn't get to, I mean, NAPS was a part of it, but when you got there, it was eat and it was letters, numbers, simple words, even if they couldn't say it. Then it was recognizing colors and trying to spell it. And then after her second year, she was at Brotherhood, pre-K, half a day. So they had that partnership. So when she got to kindergarten, she knew more than most of those other kids. And so I'd love to see that with her, but really want to see that opportunity with every kid. So we're trying to align in that direction as well, the city. And hopefully we can get some more alignment with other home daycare. What else?
I have one more question, please. So after hours concerning animal situations, like what I described, after hours, who are we supposed to call? How do we reach someone?
There's an after hours number. They're supposed to have a phone number that rings whoever that person will be to respond. It's hard sometimes. I mean,
The shelter?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's specific officers that will have that phone that they're supposed to be.
How do you get that number? Because you just called the shelter and it just gives you a message.
It'll be on the website.
The animal control number is 350-3360. Yeah,
That's the one that we called over the weekend.
There's another number.
And the message was just, you know, that they won't.
I mean, I've had one run in with that. I mean, even as a council member, there was a pit bull. There were 2 loose pit bulls that attacked some kids one morning when I was going for a walk. They didn't fight them, but they aggressively ran up. It was one of my neighbors. Their little chihuahua went to defend the kids. But the kids, like the dog, scratched like their school clothes and stuff, and ripped it and ran off. And I had called animal control. Actually, I thought 911. Then I got shipped to animal control. And then it was, oh, we'll take a name, and I was like, I'm looking at this dog right now. And if you don't get here, somebody may die, because this is a really big dog. And okay, well, you know, we've got somebody, and it took a gunshot that they heard for them to show up, because they weren't coming. I was on that phone for a while, and then a neighbor who I did not see had a gun who just shot in the air, and those dogs ran off, and then it was, hey, was that a gunshot? It's like, I told you should get here. But 5 minutes after that, all the lights and all of that. Oh, they found them down the street. They got out of a yard, but the neighbor's chihuahua didn't make it, and the kids were a little traumatized from it. So we've all had some run in and try to.
I've seen a pit bull in our neighborhood attack kids trying to catch the bus. No response. I mean, it's not fair.
I actually got a question about short time rentals.
Okay.
So, I have a friend that she's from Wichita, but she's close to, and she's looking to purchase some short-term rentals, and so she was wanting to know, are there specific properties that can she bid on them, and what the stipulations are for application?
For our public housing?
For short-term, yeah, that and, so like Airbnb and like section.
So if she wants to just purchase the house that's out here, that she can do that. If she wants to get licensed, then now there is a process now for that. And right now, we're in a grace period of 6 months for people who already, who are looking for that, and then people who already have them, who we may not be able to get to, there's a year grace period. But yeah, if she wants to find a house in the neighborhood, she can do that. She just has to license it. It goes through a process that allows neighborhood to protest it. So if they don't want it, then it'll shift it from a administrative piece into kind of the normal zoning mode where DAB will hear it, and MAPC will hear it, and then council will make a decision on it. If the neighborhood doesn't protest, it can happen. As far as our public housing, that's not what we want to see in public housing, short-term rentals. We want those to be spaces where families are going to be at for some time, preferably homeowners. But if someone wants to purchase one, renovate it, make it a rental unit for, you know, somebody to live in for months or years, that's the preference on our public housing.
Okay, and then for the licensing for the Airbnb, that she just got through the city.
Yeah, we'll have that. I can't remember how much it is. It's not a lot. I think it's $250 a year. So I think for how much people make short-term rentals, that's just a couple nights. And there's a good neighbor policy. So just with everything that happens, so making sure the rental is taken care of, grass is cut, everything looks good. There's no parties in there. Part of our nuisance ordinance will target that. That's not always the property owner's fault, but making sure that you keep good people in there is something that is a big deal for a lot of neighborhoods. Murders don't happen in them all the time, but that's what sparked it in Crown Heights. There was a murder at a Airbnb, and that was a party. You're not supposed to have parties in those. A lot of people on social media still highlight that they're having a party at Airbnb. Shouldn't be doing that.
And it may not be the property owner's fault, but it's their responsibility. And that's what you guys are trying to get lined out more. Correct.
Most of us. I do have a colleague that doesn't believe that. What else? Got everything answered. Well, I'm glad to see young people here. Always tell people we are kid friendly. I have kids too. They're actually being better than mine because parents will be in the back making noise and messing with people and taking pens and asking for your phone.
Oh, my.
That's good.
Well, our next meeting again is November 4th over at Edgemore. We'll have our both representatives District 1 on our various boards there. So we'll see you there. Be in here and again, stay at 1:30 before you go.
Oh, I'm gonna try that.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Tracy's a pleasure.
Well, mine was, yeah, I think I didn't want.
My friends today.
And